Look, you are late to the game. You are a month behind. The other architect has already got a month on you in terms of producing a solution. You've got 4 weeks. We pulled together a big team and we delivered and we won it.
So, our guest today, Managing Director of KTA, the architect of choice in Exeter, standout name in the industry, Ajay Sharma.
I think you just covered it all, haven't you?
That's me. That was a good one, wasn't it?
I don't think there's
Podcast
anything
is
for me
done.
to say.
Royal Clarence.
Talk to us about that.
I mean, everybody knows how important that is for the community.
What's been the most difficult bit about working on that project?
The design review panel. Where do I start? Have you got all day?
Another great project, which we're sitting in now, Winslade Park.
Yes, this was actually amazing. There's a struggle and a balance between what's right and what's affordable and what's viable.
Yeah, that sums up architecture in a
Does.
nutshell, doesn't it?
It does.
Really.
This is only the second piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
Right, we good?
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, so our guest today on the podcast is Ajay Sharma, Managing Director of KTA, award-winning practice with 2 offices in Exeter and Plymouth. Ajay has 2 decades of experience in the industry, lots of different industries within that, aviation, healthcare, sport and commercial development. And he's also built lots of long-lasting relationships with developers, contractors and clients in the Southwest and beyond. KTA is the architect of choice in Exeter and of Exeter Chiefs and is a standout name in the industry. So welcome to the podcast, AJ.
Thank you very much.
How was that?
I think you just covered it all, haven't you?
That's me. That was a good one, wasn't
I don't
it?
think there's
Podcast
anything
is
for me
done.
to say.
She's been worrying about that last couple
I've
of
been
days,
really
hasn't
worrying
she?
about that.
And she's done an
Why?
excellent
Because
job.
I don't do that very often. That's Jev's job, but
That's the best one we've had, so that's your
trying
job
to,
now.
That
put
was-
myself out my comfort zone.
That was impressive. That was really good.
Right, well, let's get started. Give us, if you can, a quick, probably not going to be so quick, summary of how you've got to where you are today.
God, that makes me sound old. It won't be so quick.
I meant because you've got so much to talk about.
How
not your
far
age.
back do you want me to go?
Where did the journey start? Where did the architecture journey start?
Okay, and I won't drag this on, but it did start when I was, when I was about 12. My dad owned businesses and he had a local architect called Mr. King. Still remember him, bless his soul. And I was in awe. I was just sat there with his local architect with drawings because he extended his business. He built a bit of an empire. And I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to be an architect. And I then went to did my A-levels and I didn't do very well in my A-levels. In fact, not enough points to get into university to study architecture.
Too much fun.
Too much fun, if you want to call it that. So what I did was I produced a portfolio in my spare time and I was proper dedicated. I've got to become an architect. My dad wanted me to become part of the business. And manage it, and I didn't want to do it.
Really?
Absolutely, it's just something I didn't want to do. And I managed to get through clearing. Went to Leicester de Montfort University, got a 2-1, come out of it, brilliant. And then I joined a practice where I was there for 16 years, a multinational practice, worked abroad, international, and enjoyed it, absolutely loved it. And I just worked my way up from literally being a CAD technician, working in AutoCAD, drawing boards to begin with. That's how old
old
I am.
school.
Absolutely. And worked my way up and just proved myself. And they saw me, they believed in me and trusted me in terms of that development. And yeah, the next step for me was then opening up the Plymouth office. I'd never been anywhere south of Bristol before in my life. And this was with my previous practice.
Are you originally from Bristol? Is that right?
No.
Oh,
So literally born and bred in Slough. And no jokes. And I was then sort of asked within my practice whether I would open a new office in Plymouth. And I said, yeah, why not? From scratch. So we started just myself and we built that up to 12 people new relationships, new clients, new sectors down in Plymouth. And we just grew. And then that was as associate director. And then Richard Cord, who is now chairman of KTA, saw me, spoke to me and said, AJ, I really like what you're doing. Would you join me? And I was like, I'm not sure. Because I was really happy with where I was. And it took me a year to make a decision.
To come around to it.
Yeah. And joined as director and now managing director.
What made you make the decision in the end?
New challenge. I think my previous practice, became something a bit different from what it used to be. And it just lost that culture. And I think that really took a bearing on my decision and a lot of other people that work for that practice. And I thought a new fresh start would be fantastic, still within the Southwest, because I love the Southwest. And joined KTA and we rebranded. We built a new website, new logo, new office, and really took it to a different place.
So that was in 2018, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So
That's right.
when did you get the role of managing director?
So that was, I would say that was about 3 years ago. So about 2022, 23 as managing director. Because I think Richard really saw what I was doing and, for the good of the practice. And when I joined, literally the people were absolutely brilliant. The staff, the team, that didn't have to change. It was, we've got some amazing people. And really all we need to do was just bring it to the fore. Marketing and the branding and the website was the key areas really, and new sectors. And that's what really helped was when I joined, KTA never really did any major healthcare. And that's my background is defense and healthcare. And we managed to get on the relevant frameworks and we grew from there. Healthcare is quite big for us as a sector.
It's big at the moment, isn't it?
It is big. Yeah.
What's like your day-to-day at the moment then? What are like your responsibilities as managing director?
So I like to get my hands dirty. I like to get involved with projects, but also, doing bids, tenders, looking at fees, dealing with any sort of staff, sort of annual leave and so forth. But really it's getting my hands dirty on projects. And thoroughly enjoy that.
Do you still design?
I do.
You do?
On tracing paper.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use Revit. I leave that for the others to do.
That leads us on quite nicely to the project. So one project that you're working on at the moment in Exeter that I think is pretty big, Clarence Hotel. Have I said that right? Because I did say the Clarions the other day.
You said the Clarions.
The Clarions. Talk to us about that.
The Clarence. So we got involved from day one, and we got permission, planning permission for the Clarence, which was quite a journey. It was brilliant in terms of, everybody knows how important that is for the community. And the people of Exeter. And we, just were absolutely delighted to be involved in that. So we took that through concept, planning, all the way through consultation with various people as well, and obviously the planning department. It was quite an achievement, and we got I think we got showcased on Spotlight as well for it, which was
just for the people that don't know the Royal Clarence. What happened to the Royal Clarence? It burnt down.
It burnt down.
Yeah. And when was this? Like, it feels like it was such a long time ago, doesn't it?
Do you know what? It's just been sat there derelict for such a long
Nothing's
time,
happened,
is
no.
it?
It's such a central point of Exeter.
Iconic.
It couldn't be more central, could it? Round the cathedral.
It's the oldest hotel in England.
That's mental, isn't it? And something like that happened.
Yeah.
What year did it burn down? Can anyone remember that?
It was pre-COVID, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
2016.
So it's almost 10 years since that went down. Like, really iconic hotel. Like you say, oldest in Exeter. So the amount of heritage and history that came with it. It was an amazing building. I only went in a few times. I never stayed there, but great park.
I visited, yeah.
And now it's just been boarded up, it seems, and such an eyesore.
It really
for
is.
the last 10 years. But
yes.
why has it been so difficult to like get that project off the ground, or such an important project off the ground?
Viability, because we all know what the market's doing at the moment, or has been doing. Escalating construction costs, you name it, and it just makes it very unviable. And I think since COVID, there's been a less demand for hotel and stays, and you've also got the Indigo just down the road, which is opened, whilst planning was being achieved for the Clarence. So the demand was even less. So that's why the hotel, in terms of trying to keep it as that, not viable. Hence why the planning was actually to achieve apartments and penthouse suites on top.
Oh, really? So
yes.
that's why it's taken so long, and what that planning's been denied time and time again, sort of thing.
No. So that there was an original planning permission for a hotel, and then we put in a planning application for apartments and change of use. But it was welcomed with open arms.
Really?
Absolutely. I think the most challenging part was, obviously, the community. They wanted to see it still be a hotel, and quite rightly so. There's a struggle and a balance between what's right and what's affordable and what's viable.
Yeah. Yeah, that sums up architecture in a nutshell, doesn't it? Really, like everything turning into like flats and apartments and things, because that's where the demand is, isn't it? Surely,
absolutely, 100%. And I think there is a demand for homes and apartments, and especially in the city centre. That's been a really unique project for us. And
but why is it I struggle to understand why it's taken 10 years for that to happen. Because that just sums up the planning system, I suppose, doesn't it, a lot of the time? But if you say like it was welcomed with open arms, why 10 years? Like it annoys me a little bit.
Well, as I said, I think since it got burnt down, there was a previous developer architect who put in plans for another hotel. But, and that took obviously a certain time to get through the planning process, maybe 2-3 years. But then unviable, so that they obviously sold to another developer who we acted for.
Okay.
And another then set of planning journey that we had to go through for that. So you could see why it would take that long, because I think, because there's so much interest, we've got to get it right. There's so many people that's, it's dear in their hearts. Some people got married there and they want to see it a certain way. And that's why we've kept, and in terms of the design, the actual facade that was there. So we built that back in, but then what's behind it is something completely different.
That must have been like super listed.
Yeah.
So hard to get.
It's great to be listed, absolutely. But it's on the cathedral green. It's got the outlook of the cathedral. What a place to be as well, and to stay.
What are the updates like in terms of timescales of that now then? Are things like moving along? Or?
Absolutely. Things are moving along, and they are looking to, they started stage 4 technical design and looking to sort of start building within the next few months. So I'd say we could be sat here next year and it's nearing completion.
Really? That quick?
That's exciting.
That's quite amazing, isn't it? Because it doesn't look like much is happening now.
No, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, absolutely. Yeah. Once they're in and they're getting it done. Okay, that'd be good. And what's it changing into then? I assume is it still like is it all apartments, or is still downstairs? The ground floor is commercial, so restaurant and bar and
nice.
So
that's good.
You have to keep that.
Yeah,
you really do.
I think you do, don't you? Yeah, because then people actually still see it as like a place they can go to, like part of Exeter, rather than it's probably not people that get from Exeter that actually stay in the hotel, is it really? So as long as it looks the same and you can go to the pub and everything.
Yeah. Because that's what you've got around the cathedral green. You've got a lot of sort of restaurants and bars and what have you. And it's great, isn't it, in terms of nightlife?
Yeah.
People going, pub hopping and
straight to the Clarence,
Absolutely.
What's been the most difficult bit about working on that project?
I would say it's the design review panel.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Have you got all day? It was a serious challenge, and I think as architects we've got to go through design review panels, and I totally understand that and get it, because half the time when we're designing in a silo, we've got our heads down, we're listening to what the client wants, we're delivering for that. But actually, we don't take a step back and actually look at it from afar.
Yeah.
Because we're 100 miles an hour trying to meet the deadlines, the program, and so forth. So the design review panels come in and actually ask the questions and challenge us, and just makes us think in a different way. It might be something that we've completely not thought about, which I completely respect. However, on this one, we had...
There's a lot of input, was there?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A lot of input from people from outside of the area.
Really?
Okay. Now, my issue with that is, if you've not visited Exeter or the Cathedral Green and you're giving design input, come and see the site. Understand it, because it's unique. And I think we were challenged to put up something steel and glass in place of what was there, obviously listed. Exactly. So I was, not.
What were they?
Totally
what were these
happy.
people coming to you saying from elsewhere? They'd obviously never seen the building in all its glory before the fire.
Only the information that we submit. So the
Really?
information that we submit shows obviously what was there before, what we're proposing to do now, and the reasons why we're doing it. But you just need to feel the area before you give comment.
Yeah. So why were they suggesting that? Is it like it's sustainability, environmental?
I think just challenging and think outside the box, or do something a bit more contemporary, but in a sort of medieval area.
vibe.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
It is hard to explain that, isn't it? Actually, because the cathedral in that area does have a very particular feel.
Absolutely.
It's old.
It's a
It's
landmark.
really old, isn't it? Yeah. And for somebody to come in and just see the building and not the area around it, it would
Exactly.
like really shake things up. What were like the fun bits of working on that kind of project? Is that fun?
Oh,
Fun for you?
yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, doing the public consultation, explain to the public in terms of the reasons why we're doing it, and the sort of story and the journey. And I think it is that journey that we try and explain. But what I found really interesting with this particular project was we, for the first time, had the planners all in a room, heritage consultees, Historic England. We had members of the public all sat in a room with us as architects and our developer client, and looking at options. That's the way I think we should be doing it.
Does that not happen?
Not all the time.
It sounds obvious. Doesn't
Yeah.
it?
It does
For that
sound.
to happen.
I know. And we got so much out of that one day, because half the time is you submit a pre-application, you submit your designs, you do have conversation with the planners and so forth, but it's back and forth. If we can get in one room and actually look at those options, brainstorm, what's your likes, dislikes, there's a solution in there from day dot. And I think that's the way we should be doing it.
Just
all the time.
happens so much quicker.
Yeah.
doesn't it,
Why
really?
don't you do it that way?
It's not down to us. It will be the planning system, and I do believe the planning system is overstretched at the moment, and it's all down to resource and time.
Yeah.
Imagine how many projects get submitted. And if you do that for every application, it's obviously going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So did you have
We've gone
that
into
for this
that.
project because it is such a big landmark?
Significant.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
Totally significant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another massive project, which I'm like really interested in, and you guys done a lot of, is the Exeter Chiefs.
Yes.
All that sort of work.
That's very exciting.
I'm a massive Chiefs fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you a
so
Chiefs
am
fan?
I,
Absolutely. That must have
Except
been
last
flipping fun.
season, but we'll put that behind us. We move forwards.
Did you get a lot of you must have got loads of inside access to how it's all going up, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to just go through what you actually did for them?
Yeah, so we completely relocated the stadium. It used to be in the centre, and we moved it to this piece of land, and it was all part of a phased development. You could, if you know it from old, the West Stand was up first, and then we extended it for the conferencing facilities. I don't know if you've been to any events there. And then the latest addition is the East Stand. There is plans to then extend to the south with a 1,000-seater auditorium as well.
There are plans coming for that.
There's already plans. It's got outline planning permission for it. It's perhaps waiting for the right time to start that off, because the East Stand has just recently finished.
So sorry, just ask a question.
Okay.
You did the West Stand and because it's not just a stand, is it? It's a huge building in itself.
It is, yes.
You did all like the design for that.
All the design.
Is that an exciting project? Can you be creative with that sort of stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, look, we're not doing the Old Traffords of the world or
it's
anything
the rugby
like that. But
equivalent almost.
It really is. You know, we were double champions, and I hope those days come back again.
Yeah, they will.
But it really is exciting because you know what? Again, what's really nice is the Clarence is all about community. You've got Exeter Chiefs is about the community and people coming to support their local team who are doing really well. And it's exciting. And then you see them all sat there using these spaces. You get a good feel about it.
I can imagine that's what is exciting about architecture. Obviously not being an architect myself, but I hear a lot of people say like, they really enjoy doing, like community projects like that, civic projects and like education because they have such a big impact on people's everyday lives as well.
Really, really does. And I think that's what is the most enjoyable out of what we do. Another part of it is, and I mentioned healthcare, we do a lot of health and wellbeing hubs. And we've worked a lot in Plymouth on these hubs and in Dartmouth. What's nice about them is taking the healthcare into the community. And we're just at the moment coming out of the ground is a community diagnostic centre. So that's got MRI, that's got X-ray, that's got all sorts of ultrasound, community sort of focused provision. And it's in a really deprived area of Plymouth. And it's great because it means that they don't have to travel to the hospital to get those services. They can go very local, which is easily accessible for those who really need it. And that's just brilliant in terms of, being really close to the community in that sense.
Yeah. That's cool. Sorry, just going back to the Chiefs.
Yes, of course.
You can't drop it.
I'm obviously interested in that sort of stuff, but like, I think people will be interested to know what plans are coming up as well.
Yes.
Because I remember, the East Stand when that, did you do the initial East Stand and then do the extension to the East Stand as well?
So we did. Yeah. So we did the whole lot. And so we did the East Stand. It was all standing, if I'm right.
Yeah, and then they added the seats up
and then
top,
we did the seats up top, so it's a mix of standing.
Is that like a
and
fun,
seated.
like architectural project? I'm kind of
it
thinking
is.
like there's only so much creativity you can have with that sort of stuff.
It is. Because what's really nice is, when we put the outline planning application in, there was a master plan for the whole lot. So this is only the second piece of the jigsaw puzzle. If you imagine the roof is of a certain height and it matches exactly the same height from the west to the east. So that when we do this, it absolutely
it does.
It does. And then when we do the south, that will all then connect. We hope harmoniously with that roofscape. So it will look like a continuous bowl. And then the future is the north.
That's big stuff, isn't it?
Really
that's
big stuff.
Changes. Yeah.
It really is.
So the north is at the moment it's all seated. If you're on the west, you're looking to the right, aren't you? And then that is all seated at the moment. That's a big job to do there.
It's huge,
especially with like the connectivity.
It is, because it's not just the seats and the stands. It's the facilities as well. So it's obviously all of the conferencing that we put behind the bar and those sort of things. And I think it's really important to make sure it's all coordinated from that perspective. The south stand, which is to come. I do keep asking Tony Rowe, when are we going? When are we going?
That's what I'm asking now. When is it happening?
To be confirmed.
So
that will have, as I said, the auditorium, because in terms of large venues to host gigs, bands, or even, big conferencing facilities or events, there's nowhere else really in Exeter where you can do that. And to get 1,000 seats in a place, that can be then subdivided for smaller spaces. It's just unique. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But the idea is to have big bands and what have you playing.
Well, they've had them, haven't they, recently?
They have on the actual pitch.
I have to say that the infrastructure with parking for Chiefs compared to other places in Exeter. Won't name names, but
go on, name
so much better. So much better.
Well, they have set it all up, haven't they? They lined it all up really nicely.
Yeah.
I think what Chiefs have done well is when they were doing well was like the conferencing, and like they were really good at making that stadium used all the time, wasn't it? It was the mixed use.
It is. And it's Tony. I think Tony's a real good businessman. And the success of Exeter Chiefs, and I hope it comes back, it will come back, is all down to, you know, generating income as a business, because we've seen what happened to other rugby clubs around the country, and you know they've fallen by the wayside. But the other part of that is the hotel, which Tony's invested in. So
yeah, because it's. I mean, I'm thinking how I can't see this South Stand happening anytime soon.
I think we're a little way off.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, COVID obviously took such a hit, didn't it? You know, we all know the financial records of the club and like all the other clubs.
Yes,
I think they're in. Sounds like a pretty good place now.
Yeah.
And then it's getting the match day experience back and getting them winning again, isn't it?
That's
so actually people are like bums on seats, because it does feel like every time I've been, maybe like the last year or so, you know, I'm used to an Exeter Chiefs full stadium, like when we were winning.
Yes.
And like the last 2 or 3 years, it's slowly dwindled, isn't it? Really,
it has. And you know, I do think it's, you know, with players opting to go to France, this, that, and the other, and the salary cap. I just think, you know, it's always a battle. And I think to retain decent players, it's not easy, is it? I mean, I'm no expert, but
it's tough.
Yeah, it really is.
You can never be always at the top, can you, sort of thing?
No.
And I suppose this, like for Chiefs, they're a really new club in the Premiership and like
Absolutely.
top flight rugby, so they've got to have these downtimes, haven't they? It's got to happen.
And it will come back 100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got the World Cup there at the moment.
Absolutely.
The Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
Which,
have you been?
No, but some people are going. Tom and Pat behind the cameras, they are going.
You both get that
tomorrow.
Yeah,
are you going this weekend? Yeah. Have you been?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't.
Are you
I will. Tony, I will.
It looks like they're actually putting on a really good show though, because I mean, Pat, you've obviously spoken about it. There's 2 games, isn't there? Like again, like Chiefs do typically put on a good show.
Absolutely. And I think it's because of like you said, the infrastructure and being able to, you know, put on these shows in Exeter. It's fantastic. It's great for the city.
Yeah. Massively.
Brings in the tourism as well.
Another great project, which we're sitting in now, Winslade Park. You guys obviously had a big influence on that when it was sort of coming about. How old is it now? Is it 5 years, round about that?
I think it's about 5-6 years. Yes, this was actually amazing. So we came late to the competition. So we were competing against another architect, and I won't name names, but one of my colleagues basically said to the owners of Winslade, look, give us a go, give us a try. We're in Exeter, we've been here for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And just give us a go. And he goes, right, okay, give me a call tomorrow. Anyway, we popped along, and he said, look, you are late to the game. You are a month behind. The other architect has already got a month on you in terms of producing a solution for Winslade. Would you be up for it? You've got 4 weeks. You've got to come up with a master plan. You've got to come up with a financial viability for the lot. You've got to come up with a phasing program, etc. So it's quite demanding in terms of, and we're like, yes, of course. Yeah. That's my problem. I can't say no. Yes, of course, not a problem. And we absolutely smashed it out the park. We had to. Yeah. We produced a fly through. We produced visuals. We brought in chorus and Andy Clancy on board. He was on his own at the time, so he owes me. And he absolutely done a great job. And we brought some really good people like Murray from Avalon. And yeah, we pulled together a big team, and we delivered, and we won it. And we were second. We weren't even favourites. And then, so we did the master plan. So we produced outline planning for residential on the site. We also then produced detailed planning for these office spaces. And it's just, it's growing. You know, there's such a community here. It's brilliant.
How far along in like the completion process is Winslade at the moment? Because it always seems like there's more being done and like adding on to it.
It is. It's a slow process. And I think, we've got Brook House, which is fully occupied now.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Clist House, which is another building behind, and that's filling up. There's a huge amount of space. We all know what's happened to commercial office space since COVID. But I think all of that is now changing in terms of the market. So we're seeing a lot happening at the moment, which is great.
People are definitely coming back to the office now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think companies are almost like asking for that a lot more.
They are, absolutely.
So it's not a bad thing. With a building like this, I mean, it's for people that don't know, it is huge, isn't it? It's a huge building. Wasn't it? It was dormant, a derelict for quite some time, and it was like an insurance company that occupied it before.
Yeah, insurance company, and it was all pretty much open plan. So part of our detailed planning was to subdivide into smaller offices, and then you can obviously sublet as appropriately. But people come here, they use it as a hub, just connect to the Wi-Fi and what have you. And then hence why we're here.
Yeah.
We decided we've designed this. Let's move here.
You've
Practice
got to.
what you preach,
You've
yeah.
got to, haven't you? Yeah, you have to.
Oh, it's a fantastic space.
It's a really nice location as well, to be fair, isn't it? Because I've lived in East Devon, Budley, Newton Pop, Tipton, Sidmouth all my life. Never knew it was here till 5 years ago.
Really? It's quite hidden, isn't it?
I didn't even know the building was here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it's a great location, because it's so close to the centre.
It is.
You obviously have to drive, but it's like well hidden and out in the country sort of thing.
And there's so many events that are put on here as well, be it business events or weddings or birthday parties, you name it. And it's quite popular for that. Really good.
Well, go on.
I was just going to ask about any challenges, because it is such a big building and it's still going on. Did you come across any challenges? Are you still coming across any?
It's listed. So you could imagine what the challenges come with that. And, in terms of colours, material palettes and those sort of things. And
because even though it's listed, it feels quite modern.
It is. So inside, we've really made it modern. It's not grade 1, it's grade 2. So it means that you can alter things internally. It was the external. So the panels on the outside, we repainted. Even though it's listed, that was a bit controversial. They were brown. We made them grey. And yeah, bit of a challenge. You think it's like, really? Why is that a challenge? It really is. Yeah. So you've got to jump through the hoops with Historic England. And absolutely, because you've got to respect that. We looked at other areas around the site in terms of new buildings. And the big challenge was the view as you drive up, because you come up the long drive, you cannot disturb the view to the manor. So any new development can't be distracting that view. So we couldn't put up any new development that would do that. So then the master plan actually shrunk, which then affects the viability.
Because it does feel like that when you drive in, and obviously it's a big house, it's a big plot. The closer and closer you get, there's more and more and more behind sort of thing, isn't there?
There is.
Just jumping in here to interrupt the episode to remind you to subscribe to our podcast if you aren't already. Enjoy.
I'll tell you what, we'll move on a little bit now to like what it's like actually running a business, an architecture practice. It's sort of like the more businessy kind of questions, but what are the difficulties of running an architecture practice? What sort of things do you face?
I think it's having that responsibility, and luckily I've got Richard who I can bounce things off, and I've got a really good team where we can discuss matters, and I think it's that having that responsibility, and it's like, right, the buck stops with you. And
do you feel a lot of pressure?
A couple of sleepless nights, but no.
Do you feel the pressure of that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. You do feel the pressure, but it's how you deal with it, I think. And what you can't do is wake up in the morning, come into the office and show how it might be affecting you. And you really got to be positive in the office for the team and what have you. Absolutely.
How do you did you have a question then? Sorry.
I was just going to ask, I think we potentially might be the
Maybe.
same kind of question. Are you intentional about the business that you win? So in terms of the projects, you will obviously have got really strong relationships with other businesses that help on the projects. But is that how you kind of get in there, or do you guys go out and really like, is it tender?
Yeah.
Tender for the frameworks.
Tender.
A lot of lingo here.
So a bit of both. It's great if we can build those relationships and have that repeat business where we can just be relied on or trusted upon to deliver, then great. That's where we want to be. However, we know that we have to, because of public procurement, we have to tender for projects. The problem is we all wear our heart on our sleeves, and if you don't win it, but you've then got to pick yourself up and then say, right, what's the next one? You've got to be really positive, even when you don't win all the time, and you won't win all the time. But it's how, you portray that in the office. And there are going to be people and staff who are working on those tenders and bids and competitions, that you've got to pick up again, and, motivate. I think that's the big thing.
How do you market the business? I know you said when you sort of came in, you sort of rebranded everything, changed things. Are you fairly intentional with your marketing? Because they're a big name. So there's obviously, it's established, people know the business, but do you do anything else differently?
This is it. Absolutely. When I came, I mentioned, the team are fantastic. We're doing some amazing work, and there wasn't much change needed in that at all. Except the exposure, and I think that's what I tried to do when I first joined. So it was brand new website, which is great. You've got to keep up with the times of the website and make sure it's up to date. And new logo. We went out to a branding company to get a new logo as well, to bring it again up to speed. But also, I think what's really important is attending industry events, where, if it's raising money for charity, or, attending, for example, the TBF events and so forth. I think it's important to be out there and be seen. That's all we needed to do.
You're a big networker.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really nice about the Southwest is it's all about relationships, isn't it? And you've got to form those relationships and be seen, and you've got to be fresh in their mind. But I love networking. And because I think something that we don't do is, within architecture especially, is sharing of ideas or talking about the problems or the successes within architecture locally. We just don't do it. We don't get that support from RIBA, for example.
Have you got an intentional plan to grow the business? Do you get any difficulties with that?
So the plan, and what's actually happened, obviously we've got our Exeter office. We've always had that. We opened our Plymouth office a couple of years ago with 2 people, and it was a small setup, and we're now grown to 8 just in Plymouth. And that's fantastic. We're opening the doors to so many new opportunities down there. We've got some great people, and what's nice is they're not separate. We're together. We're one business at the end of the day, and we're looking to grow and grow. We've just employed another 3 people as of yesterday, but not too big. I don't think we want
too big.
Well,
we've heard this a few times actually.
Yeah.
Really?
Some companies that have almost put a limit on head count sort of thing, and I do get it. What's the reason? What's too big for you?
It's the risk factor, isn't it? I think, and it's you don't know what the market's doing. It might be great 1 month or 1 year. You don't know what's going to happen the following year. We know what happened in COVID. Recessions and so forth. So we've got to be a bit cautious about how we do things. That said, we're probably at the right number now. We've got 26, 27. It might be a different region that we look at. Who knows? So we are looking at tendering for projects elsewhere in the regions.
That's exciting. A lot of people that we've spoken to that have said that recently have kind of gone down the route of culture, and how the bigger that they get, the harder it would be to kind of still maintain the culture that they've got. So how are you finding it with 2 offices?
I think you're absolutely right. The culture's massive. And, what's nice about what we've tried to create is a really relaxed, fun culture in the office. We've got music playing. We do a lot of social events and this and that, because I always believe in, we've got to work great as a team and get on with each other. And that then filters down into project teamwork. So we're quite big on that in terms of making sure the culture is right. I think you can still retain that culture if you grow. I think it's more difficult, but it's down to the people that you employ. And I think that's really important in terms of the personalities, and that those sort of people that you do actually employ to fit in with the team is important.
Do you think that the culture comes from the team members
Absolutely.
on the ground, then, not necessarily from above and down?
I think it's all round, absolutely. Because one thing I strongly believe in is we've got to embrace our future. We've got to embrace our architectural assistants and apprentices that come through, and we can learn from that. Not just from what we're trying to, achieve culturally from top down. I think we've got to evolve. That's the only way we can. Otherwise, we'll be too stuck in our way and we're not listening to anybody else. So we've got to listen to all the new faces that come in.
Yeah, one thing I always battle with quite a lot is how do you create a really fun and sociable, good culture, which is also high performance. It's getting such a balance, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And I think, as I said, we went to Exmouth Beach a couple of weeks ago, and 18 of us, and not everybody can come to every event, don't get me wrong, but 18 of us came along. We had a barbecue. We played cricket on the beach. It was a nice sunny evening, and everyone was just having so much fun. Chatting to each other, getting to know each other outside of work. Because I think that's also very important, because, I want to be able to sort of go around personally and know your partner's name, your family, and what's going on. So then that, I can go and ask how they are, outside of work, which also then affects work in the office and how they might feel. So, I feel that's really important, and for everybody to sort of get to know each other in that way.
Yeah.
Does KTA have a philosophy or a common goal that you're working towards, or that you're working towards sort of thing yourself?
First, work hard and then play hard. Yeah. That's our philosophy. But no, I think we've got to deliver a good service for our clients, and that's, top, because we're only good as our last job. And project, and then enjoy it, have fun, doing that. And that's what I say to everybody. That's so important.
I think that moves us on quite nicely.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
that was a nice wrap up.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little think about a bit of quick fire questions to you.
They're not so much quick fire, but we've got a few pretty juicy architecture questions.
Oh, have you? Right. Okay.
Yeah, or subjects, let's say,
yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
A few of them are more subjects. The first one is all about salaries in architecture. We've spoken about this loads. We obviously recruit in the sector as well, so we're pretty familiar with it all. And there's so much that goes around on LinkedIn, isn't there, about architecture salaries. The story is everybody perceives architects to, have loads of money, and, you think it's a, really well paying profession, which it can be. But then you also put it alongside how long and how much hard work it takes to become a qualified architect, longer than a doctor and lawyers in a lot of these respects.
Yes.
Why are architecture salaries maybe not what people perceive them to be?
That's a very good question. Why isn't it? I'm asking you.
Yeah. I've got an answer, but I'm not giving my answer before yours.
I think we don't earn as much as other professions, and I think it is a real shame. And I strongly believe it's driven by the Royal Institute of British Architects. I think it's driven from those organisations where it's not controlled, it's not pushed in terms of our profession. it's never at the forefront in terms of why it's such a responsibility in terms of what we're doing. It's a huge responsibility. You know, you think about, you know, the risks that architects have to bear, especially after Grenfell. You know, we've got new PDBR regulations where we've got to sign off building regs drawings. Does your drawings comply with it? You know, the risk factor increases, but our salaries aren't. And I think it is, you know, the framework rates that come out from RIBA that they publish and so forth doesn't help.
Do you think that, well, quite simply, they should increase it?
Yes.
But
Quite simply. I mean, I got a few things going around in my head to why, and obviously it's like a huge accumulation of different things, I think. But like, is it now, it's quite a saturated profession. You know, a lot of people want to become architects. That's one sort of thing. There's a lot of people in the industry. Do people devalue?
I don't think there is. I think there needs to be more in the industry, personally. I think especially in the Southwest, we've got such a small pool of people to work with and employ. I personally think the reason is because, and I think this is a major problem, and I mentioned before about architects talking to each other and forming a forum, be it in Exeter and Plymouth, and talk about salaries, talk about clients and projects, because half the time we're competing so hard on winning a project.
It's winning fees, isn't it? That's the thing.
It's winning fees.
Yeah, so everyone's knuckling everybody down.
So what's happening? It goes right rock bottom down. Yeah. And if the fees are really down, you're not bringing enough income in. Therefore, that has a knock-on effect to how much you can pay staff. And I think that's across the whole industry. And
that's really hard to do, though, to have like a discourse between other practices. Because first of all, you're obviously in competition, but then you can't do that in an isolated area, because then you've got people that come around from somewhere else and say, right, we'll offer this.
That's right.
And then mix it all up. So it's that competitive, isn't it? That's what's so difficult.
And it's harder for smaller practices and firms where, you know, you've got a finite pool of people and tenders that you want to actually go for. Whereas the larger organizations, they can go for the larger projects, the multinational schemes where the fee is a lot higher. So they can balance off the low fee paying work against the large fee paying work. Okay. So they're more sustainable. They've got the balance. For us, the smaller organizations, it's tough. We've all seen in the news lately in terms of local practices folding, you know, and it's a real shame, because I don't think we help each other.
So that's led me to think that it should come from the top of like RIBA. You know, they should be pushing.
Should be a baseline. More
conversations around that. I'm not a member. I don't know anything about it. But are they having these sort of conversations? Is this pushed more? Is it a topic of discussion?
It's always the topic of discussion, but it never filters down. Yeah. And that's the problem. It's a real issue. And, you know, what you find is, you know, you're doing these bids and it's, you know, say 40% based on quality, 60% based on fee. So you know that if you've got a lower fee, it's going to win it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes these procurement rules and tenders should maybe flip it the other way. Maybe the quality should be a lot higher, and it shouldn't be so onerous on how low your fee is.
Could it be, I don't know whether this is really silly, but could it be just like a baseline fee? Like could like
I think RIBA it should be.
Say that every practice in the
industry
don't go lower.
Do not
go
lower than a certain
project. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Is it maybe moves us on to another question, but I don't want to skip over this subject, so I've still got a lot to say on it. But is it, I know architecture practices do an awful lot more than just design, but is there less emphasis on designing buildings now because it costs so much than there previously was? And is it more about just the money rather than a beautiful building?
I think it's a balance. It depends. You know, for example, if we're doing sort of industrial units, it's an industrial unit.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it does depend project by project. Like the Clarence, for example, it's, you know, significant. It's great. You know, the design, you can put more input into that. So it's different project by project.
Yeah. I think. What about my favourite subject at the moment, protection of function?
Say again, sorry?
Protection of function. What do you think to that?
What do you mean?
Bring it back.
I reckon.
You reckon?
That will help the salaries.
This is the controversial. This is the controversial part, isn't it? I'll tell you why I love the conversation. You know, speak to architects about it. Not every day, but quite a lot. And so many people are on the fence. Other people are really like hardball about it. I do, you know, see it as being like a big root cause of the problem. We had a really good interview with another architecture practice on the podcast, and you know, I think she was fairly in favour of it, but like there are also big, you know, pros and cons to it, aren't there really? But she sort of explained it to us that we did have protection and function, and that went away in 70s and 80s. Architects were earning a lot of money. It was a, you know, a good place to be, and then they rid of that. For what reason? I actually can't remember, to be totally honest. But why do we not have protection of function? Because we have protection of title, which, you know, everybody, like, that's a hot topic itself, isn't it? People are really sort of keen on that. But then, you know, am I right to say doctors obviously have protection of function? All these other disciplines where it takes this long to become an architect, or, you know, their profession, they obviously have protection of function as well as title. So why is it architecture is the one that's out and the one that's not being paid as much money?
I think you're absolutely right. It is quite it's quite an area, and I think the architect was always the go-to, wasn't it? In terms of get an architect, you will contract administer my project on site. You will do everything, and it's just getting watered down more and more with the salaries.
You're expected to do as much, but for less.
Well, more. I feel like
it's increasing. It really is, in terms of the expectations now. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So what are the downsides? Or what are the arguments for not having protection of function?
I think there's always a saying, isn't there? Just blame the architect. There is a lot of that, isn't there? There is, in terms of, well, you know, it's a design fault or what have you. Who do we go to? The architect. And more and more contractors on site want more and more detail. And architects have to provide that in terms of more and more detail. So it's a vicious cycle. The more information that the contractors are wanting, we have to deliver, but they don't want to pay more in terms of fee percentages. And it goes back to what we said earlier. The fee percentages are what they are because you're trying to win the job. So it's a tricky one to answer that.
I think one of the points that Sophie had on one of our previous podcasts was she understands the argument for not having protection of function because there are lots of people out there who are, you know, skilled technicians or like have a part 1 degree, part 1, 2. They're not quite qualified, but they're still working on like small residential houses, you know, smaller buildings.
There's
where
still work for them. They
still have the knowledge to do that sort of thing. But then if they brought in protection of function, those sort of fees would be maybe completely unaffordable. But then my argument to that is, well, if we're creating much more safer and better buildings, which are more sustainable, more practical, are going to last longer, then surely that's a better thing to happen in the long term rather than the short term.
This is the problem, and I think people want to pay the least.
That's it, isn't it? It all just comes down to cost.
It does, unfortunately.
Do you feel like it's been like this throughout your whole career?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's always been like that, and they don't teach you that at university. They don't teach you about, you know, cost, budget, or regulations, and I think that's one of the big areas where I feel universities need to concentrate on, because what happens is you've got people, part 1s, part 2s, who are studying. Great, you know, you're developing your creativeness, but in reality, they'll come into the office and it's like, well, let's do this, and it's like, well, no, that's not affordable. Yeah, it just needs to be a box.
Totally get it. Yeah.
So there isn't enough of that being taught. I don't believe.
Which is a shame that am I right in saying that they've taken away the level 7 apprenticeship, or taking it away, and actually that time in practice could be so much more useful.
Yes. I got Josh in the office who went through that apprenticeship course, and he's a brilliant architect, and he's come out the other end with so much confidence. It's a shame they're taking it away. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just gone so much more expensive, hasn't it now? Are planning regulations strangling creativity? I know we can come on to planning just as a whole in a second, but is that the case?
Again, project by project basis. I think it can do. I think it really can. Also, design review panels equally. I think it can have a big effect on creativity or trying to quash it a little bit. But I think, it does depend, and you've got to really pick an example.
You could argue with the Clarence, that obviously helped.
Absolutely. I mean, we were advised completely which was wrong. And I'm glad we didn't go in that direction. It had to be reinstating that facade the way it was, no matter what. So in that case, it wasn't the best advice. But yeah, the planners, I feel, they think that they've got more control over the design. That's how I feel. In some cases. Yeah. In some cases. It's not hugely supported or justified in some cases.
With planning, I know it's a difficult question, but the government, they want to change it up. They say they're going to do it, whether they are or not. What would you do to change the planning system and make it more efficient and better?
Resource.
I think we've heard that so much from everybody. There's just
not enough resource within planning departments to quickly put things through. If it's really obvious, why take 12 weeks to put it through? Yes, you've got to do consultation and what have you. There's got to be a better process out there where you can probably half that.
So are you saying it's more about getting more people into the profession of planning so that we've got more people resourcing, or is it more about the actual system?
A bit of both. Yeah, I think a bit of both. You've got some instances where, there's not enough in the system, but also I think if you can speed it up, that actually halves their workload, which means they can deal with more applications. I mean, I'm not going to change the world tomorrow, but it's an idea where I think there needs to be a more streamlined process.
Yeah, I saw a video a couple of days ago on LinkedIn. I can't remember the exact facts, but it basically reeled off like a number of different things that was made our planning system and just like completely embarrassing. I think like HS2 is like the most expensive infrastructure project in the world. And like the planning for it cost more than like the actual build or something like that. I can't remember, but like, how have we got it so wrong? Like, is it people blame the bats? People blame the badgers, ecology, all this sort of stuff. Like, how do you strike a balance between the two? Because I understand both sides, but at the same time, if we want to move forward, then we can't have planning systems which take years and years and years and years before anything actually happens.
Absolutely right. And I think, ecology is important, don't get me wrong, and, BNG and bats and badgers, and we need to protect them, but there are mitigation measures that you can put in place. So, I don't think we should be using that as an excuse. But I just feel as though if we streamline it, great, that's got to help all round. And then you've got people, developers, those who are wanting to invest in making better buildings out there will be more interested and spend their money because they know they can get planning quickly and get the projects going quicker and faster. Because half the time they buy the land, it takes months and months and months to get planning, and it's just sitting there. They're not getting their money back. Yeah. So I think, something needs to be done.
That makes sense. Just to say, like, step one, actually get the resource there to speed up the projects that are in the system, because then you actually incentivize people to actually build.
Exactly
what you said. And then once you're actually building, and it's not completely inefficient and people do actually want to build, that's when you can start the process of maybe looking at the legislation and maybe changing a few things for the better, because you've got a big backlog of people that actually want to build.
Exactly.
Are the government going to do that?
No. No, of course they're not.
What are they going to do? Just chuck more bodies at it?
Look, I think we all know how much we're in debt as a country, and we know how much in terms of spending, savings they need to create and what have you. And I think it's not going to get any better. They're not going to throw more resource. We know councils have become bankrupt in other areas in the country. It's not going to get any better, and spending is going to just reduce even further. I think the best way is if you're stuck with the resource that you have, just speed up the process. Make it easier for the resource that you've actually got within planning departments. Shorter, so you can deal with more.
That's all that can be done, really, isn't it? At the moment,
Absolutely.
It's the only solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go on, you had a question, didn't you? So
I was actually just gonna. I don't know whether we'll know the answer. It's an open question. Like, when was the last time the planning system was actually looked at?
They're constantly adding on new
They're
legislation.
just adding,
so
aren't
the
they?
book is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger rather than cutting it down.
It's just not filtering down to local authorities quick enough.
Yeah.
There were talks of relaxing planning on green belts and greenfield sites. Yes, that's happening, but it's not happening enough.
Next question here, actually, maybe leads on quite nicely, and it ties into like two things. Is like sustainability and net zero like actually hampering the creative process or construction and architecture?
No, definitely not.
You think it's speeding it up?
From my point of view, I think it's great. We should be designing buildings to net zero carbon, full stop. We're doing that in healthcare. We're doing that in defence and public sector projects, but we should be doing it across the board. Passive house is also brilliant. I think everyone's scared of, the on costs of incorporating that into their projects. But from a net zero carbon point of view, it's relatively easy. PVs, we should be putting them on all our buildings. I keep seeing housing developments going up with no PVs on them. Why? There should be legislation to say you must.
Is that not?
I think it's a balance because it's an all-rounded sort of energy performance for any build.
Okay.
So if they're not putting PVs on roofs,
they'll be saving somewhere else.
Exactly, air source heat pumps or other means. But I think it should be a given.
It does sound obvious, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Given like the technology is not exactly new anymore, is it? Really?
No, that's right.
Especially with new builds. So I'm going to flip that on its head then a little bit. Is like environmentalism slowing down the planning process and architecture?
Is that in terms of
I'm kind of talking about like the
physical environment?
Yeah, the bats, the newts, that sort of thing. Are we maybe going a little bit too hard on that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's there for a reason, and I think we should be protecting our species out there which are under threat. And as I said, if we do it in the right way, it shouldn't scamper anything or hold anything up.
Do you find that with a lot of I don't know whether they're called like legislations, but do you find that all of the things that are in place that you have to kind of like hurdles you have to jump over when creating projects are there for a reason, or is there any that you just think, why have I got to do that?
No, I think you can see why they're there for a reason. Absolutely. You've got the typical validation checklist of planning, flood, what's in the ground, is there contamination, are there bats, transport. I think those are all important factors when you're designing any project.
So that's not the legislation you'd take out of the planning?
No.
Or change?
No, it's just, it's a tick box exercise. I think when it comes to submitting the planning, because all of those things need to be done by the time you submit. Once you've submitted, then you've got 12 weeks plus to get it approved or not. I think that's the time that you could potentially reduce through proper government legislation.
That's pretty good. This is quite a nice question. Obviously, architecture goes through different phases of types, Victorian era, traditional. But is modern architecture comparatively soulless in comparison to traditional and previous eras of architecture?
I think
because of cost. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all those different types of projects across the eras have got its own place, I think. And I think you've got to look at each regional context. I don't think modern architecture is soulless. Who told you that?
That's what I think. I think sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it can be. And the reason why I say that is that is a bit of a blanket statement, obviously, but
yeah,
cost has driven down so much. I love the old like Victorian buildings that we're like knocking down, like the Clarence. People obviously wanted to put a glass facade on that. You're thinking, what the hell? Like, I'd hate that. That'd be horrible.
This is my prime example. Each project has got its own place. Absolutely, a steel and glass box might look great somewhere else, but not on Cathedral Green.
But that's like the style now, isn't it? It's like a minimalism. It does seem very much like that.
I was going to say basic, but minimalism.
But like, and I would say like,
word.
I see loads of like passive houses, for example. They all look horrible. I've never seen a nice looking one.
Oh, there are some good ones out
there. Show me some nice ones.
After this, I'll show you.
Please.
100%.
But like, that's just my opinion, of course. So like, it's just an opinion.
And this is what I love about architecture is because you're even just saying that, because you're just talking about that and creating a conversation, it's subjective. You're not supposed to like contemporary by the sounds of it. You like the more traditional looking home or building. There are people out there that would like it the other way around. So horses for courses, I believe.
When you're working on projects that, clients obviously have different likes, opinions on how they want their project to be created, designed, do you have to really hone into their thoughts and feelings then? Do you kind of step away from your subjective feeling about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. And I think, if it's totally backed up and you agree that it should be a certain style or what have you for a project, then absolutely, that's great. You're not going to argue that. If you think, no, I don't think your brief is right for this particular site, we're wrong to not convey our thoughts. And I think it's important that we do that.
Yeah, it's a balance between designing what looks nice and what you like.
But ultimately, they're our client, they're paying us for service, so we've got to...
Well, another question that leads on quite nicely to that is, do you think that architects should turn down work if it doesn't align with their values?
Yes. I think, we've turned down work because it didn't align with our values in the past. And I think I know people who have actually done that as well. Again, it's a balancing act.
Are there like no-goes for you?
Say again?
Are there like no-goes for you, if that makes sense?
I think, there's the controversial projects, which, animal cruelty, all those sort of things where I think, you've got to be true to value. And I would definitely not work in any of that sort of sector.
Do you know what I'm hearing actually a lot from like different people at the moment is like from candidates, so it's a bit different, but a slight comparison. Some like graduates don't want to work for architecture practices and like engineering companies that do a lot of defence.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, BAE Systems, BAE, those sort of like Lockheed Martins, all those sort of bigger companies that are contributing to the arms race, that sort of thing. They have those sort of like morals and principles. You ever come across that?
No, never.
No, I had one person, this was a bit more engineering, but they didn't want to work for businesses that did, work down in Babcock, down in Devonport. It's interesting to see that. I thought that maybe that's sometimes a bit of a no-go for somebody. The other obvious one is like if it's not sustainable or like complying with sustainable and environmental legislation, but then I suppose you couldn't really have projects like that because they all have to comply.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so I know there are companies out there who that's their motto. That is, we are doing net zero carbon. If your project isn't requiring any of that, we don't want to know. We're not like that. We tune into what the client needs and wants, and deliver on that basis. But from a defence perspective, I think it's great in terms of what we're doing. We need to help our defence sector we're so outdated with regards to it, and protect our country and help our armed forces. I think it's a great thing that what we're doing.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And we're actually working on our first 2 defence projects, and that's really good from our new sector point of view.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely. Maybe we've touched upon this question, but like, should we be, and it actually comes back really nicely to the Royal Clarence, should we be preserving our heritage projects at all cost, or is the nostalgia of, those designs holding us back from development with architecture creativity?
I think we should be preserving to a certain degree. And I say to a certain degree because I think it's how far you take it. And I think it's a conversation, and I go back to Clarence in terms of getting everybody in a room and talking through it by brainstorming. We're working on a Somerset Training Academy in Bridgewater, and that's a listed front range of buildings. And our answer to that was create a new build behind with a glazed atrium in between. That was challenged by Historic England, and they asked us to retain more. But I think, and we're retaining more, and I don't think that actually compromises the design or the functionality. We've still retained a small element of new build, but I think it's actually improved it. So I think what we should be doing is exploring options, exploring how it can add advantage to any project or design. Because we could be pleasantly surprised.
Fab. Should we have more grade 1, grade 2 listed buildings?
If they're of a significant importance and merit, and it enhances the local character of the area, why not? Absolutely. And I don't think it should be just the older, traditional buildings. Let's list some contemporary ones.
Yeah, cool. And last question, what advice would you give to architects in your sort of position at the moment, leaders with sort of growing a business that you've learned over the last 5-6 years?
Let's talk more. Honestly, I think when we don't do it enough, and I feel as though because of the competitiveness of tenders and what that's doing to fees, we should be discussing it more and actually pitching together. If we're all bidding for the same project, let's all decide what our baseline is. We don't need to, consider what RIBA are telling us, and from that point of view, why not?
Is this happening at the moment? No.
I think it's more difficult than I'm just saying it, because what will happen is if we did get together collectively and talk through bids and projects, there will be somebody who will come in and actually undercut us.
Yeah. You need to be able to trust the people, don't you?
How do we make this happen then? How do we make this happen? What's the start really? Is it just slide into AJ's inbox?
Absolutely.
Sort of thing?
Yeah. Let's do a poll. Let's get out there. Let's get a collective.
Is there a networking together? Is there an event, or what we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm chair of the Building Forum, Devon and Cornwall, where we network and we bring events every month where people get together, not just architects but across the industry. Why don't we do this just for architects? Why isn't there an organisation that's put together where us architects just get together and just have a roundtable discussion about the problems, the opportunities, not just the issues, and talk it through. Could be salaries, it could be anything.
Could be anything. There you go. You're just giving yourself
a
job, haven't you? We'll leave it on that.
Contact me.
Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with AJ, then slide into your DMs, as they say. But yeah, keep the conversation going. Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Keep the conversation going. Actually, sort of talk about these sort of things, and things will happen. Right? Change will happen.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, AJ, for coming on the pod.
Thank you.